I'd been with the spoiled alpha-rich kid Fenwick for 4 years when I accidentally got pregnant. Midway through the pregnancy, his fiancé slapped me so hard in the right ear that I went deaf. Fenwick said, "Didn't I tell you to stay put? Why can't you ever listen?" That's when I realized I was someone who could never see the light of day. After the baby was born, they forcibly removed my gland. Heartbroken and humiliated, I ran away. I left with nothing, not even the child. 1. I'd been handed over to Fenwick as collateral for a debt. When I differentiated as a prime omega, my family completely fell apart. My defective alpha father suspected my weak omega mother of cheating. He pointed at me and said I wasn't his biological child. Even when my mom tearfully offered to do a paternity test, he wouldn't listen. He gambled, drank, and whored around, loudly spreading rumors that she was a bad woman. When he won, he'd drink to celebrate. Drunk, he'd go home and hit her. When he lost, he'd drink to drown his anger. Drunk, he'd go home and beat her senseless. I tried to shield her, taking the blows alongside her. She shoved me away in fury. "It's all your fault. If you hadn't turned out a prime omega, would I be suffering like this? How come everyone in the family has defective genes, except you?" I didn't understand. Wasn't becoming prime supposed to be a good thing? Why was I the first to be cast out by my own family? No one gave me an answer. When I turned 18, my mom really did run off with someone else. I was the only punching bag left for my dad. He'd racked up massive debts with loan sharks. Debt collectors came pounding on our door every other day. 3 days before college entrance exams, I went home. My dad sweet-talked me, then shoved me at a gang of tattooed enforcers. "Guys, this kid's a prime omega. His pheromones got a ylang scent. Irresistible. Why don't you have some fun? Just cut me a little slack on what I owe." Yeah. Most of them were defective alphas. They flared their nostrils, sniffing around me, faces twisted in disgusting excitement. I couldn't fully control my pheromones yet and panicked, trying to escape. No use. Any alpha's pheromone could sap my strength completely. The worst part, the first person who stopped me from running was my own father. He crushed me with the full weight of his dominance and his authority as a parent, roaring, "I raised you this long. You don't owe me some filial duty? If I tell you not to move, you stay put. Omegas are cheap, prime or not. I'll still have you on your knees." Then he turned around and grinned obsequiously at the debt collectors. Prime omegas have super high fertility rates, right? Higher chance of giving birth to a prime alpha 2. Do whatever you want with him, even if he ends up pregnant. No problem. Just do me a favor, cut me some slack, and don't beat me up. Their eyes lit up green with greed. They pounced, tearing my clothes apart, arguing over who'd get first pick. The chaotic mix of pheromones hit me like poison. I was nauseated to my core. My vision went blank. My ears went dead silent. All I could think was, it'd be better to just die. A jacket, faintly smelling of lime liquor, fell over me, snapping my eyes into focus. Fenwick stood in the doorway, backlit, cold, expressionless, lips moving. My ears still rang. I couldn't hear a word. All I knew was the debt collectors shrank back, trembling, until they hid behind him. My dad tried to run. They caught him, pinned him to the floor, and chopped off 2 fingers on his right hand. But even that wasn't enough. The debt was so huge, even his life wouldn't cover it. So Fenwick took me away. 2. Fenwick was the boss of those debt collectors. But he was only 4 years older than me. His family made its fortune in the underworld. He'd been thrown onto the streets to learn the ropes early. First job, running casinos. My dad was just one of his many deadbeat clients. Not even worth Fenwick's personal attention. But he happened to be bored that day, waiting around while his men bungled the job. So he showed up and picked up a burden like me. That same night, he threw me on the bed, gave me 2 choices. You're here to pay off a debt. Serve me alone, or serve a whole crowd. Choose. Shaking, I unbuckled his belt, told him it was my first time, begged him to be gentle. When it was over, moonlight slipped past the gray curtains. I stared at that sliver of light and dared to ask, "Can I still go to school?" Fenwick, satisfied, pulled me into his arms, patted my head, already half asleep. Sure, you're not a prisoner. I'm not locking you up. For a moment that night, I thought maybe life wouldn't be so unbearable after all. But I never made it back to school. When college entrance exams came, I barely knew how to answer. My mind was mush. I knew every character on the page, but nothing made sense. I'd gone stupid, but that made no sense. Prime omegas, like prime alphas, were supposed to be naturally gifted, bright, sharp. I used to be top of my class. Now I was too dumb to even pass the exam. When Fenwick heard my test score, he smiled and reassured me. Being a little dumb's fine. You're with me, I'll take care of you. And that's how I stayed for 3 years. I was obedient, quiet, never caused trouble. I was the only Omega Fenwick kept close. In the 4th year, I got pregnant by accident. When I found out, I was already 4 months along. I was terrified. Fenwick was always careful with protection. I was scared he'd suspect me of cheating, yell at me, hit me, like my dad used to. I planned to abort the baby in secret. The doctor warned it would damage my body badly. I didn't care. Lying on the operating table, I was thinking only of how not to let Fenwick find out. The next second, Fenwick appeared in front of me. And, of course, he yelled at me. You dare try to get rid of my kid? I hesitated, then asked, You're not worried the baby isn't yours? Fenwick let out an incredulous laugh and squeezed the back of my neck, making me shiver at the tingling sensation. I'm not that stupid. And besides, I've marked you. Who'd even dare touch you? I reached back and felt the faint bump of a bite mark. So this was how powerful a prime alpha's mark could be. My mom had been marked by my dad too, but his mark never protected her. It only chained her down, an invisible prison for half her life. I was afraid I'd end up like her. So I whispered, Does this mark stay with me forever? Fenwick's lips curled into a cold smile, eyes half-lidded as he stared at me. What do you think? His fingers dug hard into my gland. It was hypersensitive, couldn't be touched like that. My whole body went weak, collapsing into his arms. Unless you have this cut out, you'll be my Omega for life. I tore his hand away, clutching my gland, shaking my head. It hurts, don't cut it out. Fenwick gave a cold snort. Good, as long as you know it hurts. He took me to a solemn, austere building and even took photos of me, like a criminal mugshot. I figured my dad's debt must have been massive. Fenwick probably wanted leverage to keep me from running. The first thing he did after taking those photos was hand me some pills. Here, take this. 3. I didn't know what kind of medicine it was. After Fenwick found me at the hospital, he took me through countless tests. I was dizzy and disoriented. He spoke with the doctor for a long time and came back with a pile of medicine. I asked him, What is it? Can I skip it? My body's fine. I don't need medication. Fenwick stared at me for a long moment, then lowered his head, counted out the pills, and pushed them into my mouth. In a low voice he said, You're too thin. These are just nutritional supplements. But none of them had labels. I pressed my hand against my stomach and quietly asked him, Will this be good for the baby? Fenwick paused, then nodded. Of course. So that was it. Then I'd take it. 4. I took the medicine obediently, but Fenwick stopped touching me. He gave me the master bedroom and went to sleep in the guest room. I felt awful but didn't dare ask why. I was just paying off a debt. I had no right to dream of anything more. In the quiet of night, I could only fall asleep clutching his discarded clothes. When he saw me in the morning, he gave me a knowing smile, then tossed me 3 sets of fresh clothes every day. When are you building your nest? If you are, wouldn't these clothes be too few? I had never built a nest since being with him, because every heat cycle, he was there. But this time, he wasn't. After I got pregnant, he wouldn't let me go to work with him. He made me stay home and rest. One day, I overheard one of his men say, Boss must be busy cleaning up his fiancé's mess. Huh? Yeah. I heard the big boss arranged a little Omega for him. At that moment, my heat hit me out of nowhere. His men panicked, called Fenwick, ran to buy inhibitors. They didn't expect me to run out. I wanted to find Fenwick, but my head was foggy, spinning. I wandered the streets, completely lost. I ran into a group of alphas. They crowded around me, so loud, so suffocating. My whole body hurt. Someone slapped me hard and demanded, "You're clinging to Fenwick just for his money, right? Pathetic, aren't you? How much have you taken? That should have been mine. Spit it out." I covered my head, shaking it over and over. I wanted to say I hadn't taken a dime, but the next second, I blacked out. When I woke, Fenwick was standing there, with a handsome Omega by his side, face dark as ink. He asked what happened. All the alphas had vanished, as if everything before was just a dream. But my face was swollen and stinging, my right ear ringing, deaf to sound, probably temporary hearing loss. I ignored it. I pointed at the Omega. "Your fiancé said I stole your money. He told me to give it back. I said I didn't, so he hit me." I sounded like a child tattling, hoping Fenwick would drive his fiancé away. Fenwick and his fiancé locked eyes, his expression heavy. Finally, he rubbed his temple and said, "You should go. We'll talk another time." Then he turned to me. "Didn't I tell you not to run around? Why won't you listen?" I flinched, heart aching. I finally admitted it to myself. I was just Fenwick's idle pastime, something to keep out of sight. I stayed silent. So did he. He took me home, lifted my chin, and applied medicine to my face, eyes burning with anger. In the end, he smashed the ointment jar to the floor, stormed out to scold his men, then came back to scold me. "Talk. Cat got your tongue? You've got a fever, don't you even know? Can't use a phone. You just had to run around?" While he berated me, he yanked off my soaked pants, holding them up in front of me. If I'd been a little later, do you know what would have happened to you? I hugged my knees, refusing to look at him. If I spoke, I'd choke up, and I'm a man. I couldn't let that happen. When he'd finished venting, he made me kneel on the bed, and dealt with my heat slowly, heavily. Afterward, he bit the back of my neck again, forcing his overwhelming scent into my glands. It hurt, but felt unbearably good, tearing my eyes with helpless tears. 5. After that, Fenwick wouldn't let me leave the house at all. He often brought his fiancée over, watching how I behaved, then whispering privately with him. I began to resent Fenwick, but I had no right to. I wasn't anyone to him. I grew quieter, dazed. Fenwick gave me even more medicine. I didn't ask, just took it. For months later, I delivered prematurely. A baby boy so tiny, so quiet, like a kitten. He went straight into an incubator. I kept feeling I'd wronged him. Born as someone's illegitimate child. How would he grow up? Would he end up like me? With no freedom, no happiness? But I overthought everything. Just after my confinement, Fenwick's fiancé came to warn me off. He hated that Fenwick had marked me. He stabbed a steak fork into my gland. I didn't dare tell Fenwick. I feared I wouldn't be chosen. I hid the wound for days. Fenwick was busy, with work, with visiting the baby, and didn't notice. By the time he did, the wound was infected and necrotic. He exploded in anger, slammed his fist into the wall, knuckles bleeding, not even seeming to feel it. He took me to the hospital in silence. They cut out my glands. He didn't believe me. Didn't believe his fiancée had done it on purpose, just to erase his mark on me. He said I was insane. I didn't fight back. I didn't know how. I just buried my left ear in the pillow. Fenwick didn't know my right ear couldn't hear him anymore. So stupid. So sad. While he was talking to the doctor, I went to see my baby. Fenwick had named him Emerson. A frail little thing, with eyes like mine, dull, without much light. Why did he choose me as his father? He deserved someone better. I gave him one last look, then turned and walked away. 6. I walked through old streets, narrow alleys, and crowded places. Walked for a long, long time. From the place I was born, in B City where Fenwick lived, all the way to distant A City where nobody knew me. I picked some old street at random and put down roots. I lived carelessly, unkempt, didn't cut my hair, didn't shave. I don't know how long it went on. A new neighbor asked me my name. I thought and thought, but couldn't remember, seeing I looked old and half-deaf. He called me Uncle Deaf. I couldn't be bothered to correct him. I couldn't even remember my own age. I just kept borrowing money from him. Colton, right? Lend me some cash. What for? Liquor. No. Stingy. He was new here too, an aggressive alpha. But I no longer had glands or pheromones. So his alpha pheromones didn't affect me at all. I wasn't afraid of him in the least. He was pregnant, patting his belly as he said, "Yeah, I'm stingy. I have to save money for the baby. You too, can't you drink less?" I ignored him and scavenged bottles or took odd jobs to buy liquor. Whenever I got drunk, I felt strangely happy. I didn't know why. It felt like I had forgotten something. When I saw Colton's belly, I vaguely remembered. I think I once had a baby too. With whom? Where was the baby now? I didn't know. And I was oddly afraid to find out. Colton was a good man. He always let me eat at his place. He had a daughter, an adorable little girl. I worked hard to earn money, buying her pretty dresses, tasty snacks, and fun toys. She liked me a lot. I was so happy, life felt worthwhile again. In a blink, Milo was old enough for kindergarten. Shortly after school started, Colton suddenly went into heat and asked me to pick Milo up after class. I hesitated, then nervously washed my hair, shaved my messy beard, and even borrowed Colton's suit. It was a bit too big, but in the mirror I looked almost respectable. At least I wouldn't embarrass Milo. Her kindergarten was in a fancy district outside the old street. When I picked her up, she stared at me in shock. Hearing me tell the teacher I was the Uncle Deaf sent by her dad, her eyes lit up and she leapt into my arms. "So you're not a grandpa. You're so handsome. I like you." I froze for a moment, then smiled and carried her out. But one of her classmates grabbed my jacket and wouldn't let go. He just stared at me with dark, unblinking eyes. When his father arrived, he also stared at me. Eyes suddenly red. I gave an awkward smile. "Sir, aren't you taking your child home?" He flinched and muttered, "Sir?" "Yes, sir. I'm in a hurry. Could you tell your son to let go?" He covered his face and wiped hard. Instead of persuading his son, he let the boy cling to me. "This child has autism. He rarely likes anyone. Could you play with him for a while? I can pay you." I glanced at the boy. For some reason, I didn't want to take his money. I just nodded. "All right. I like children. I can't bear to see them upset." So I held Milo's hand and the boy's too, and walked home. The man wanted to follow me as well. I told him I'd drop the kids off at school tomorrow, hinting he could head home. But he didn't get it and just trailed behind, asking if Milo was my biological daughter. When I said she was the neighbor's child, he looked visibly relieved. We chatted idly. I stood at Colton's door, despairing. How was I supposed to explain that I'd brought home an extra man and kid to bum dinner? 7. Apparently, the man knew Colton. They started talking right away. I went out alone with the kids. The old street had a vendor making sugar figurines. Milo wanted one shaped like a leaf. I asked the boy what shape he wanted. He looked up silently, then blurted out quickly, "A fish. I'm not your dad." "Okay, Dad. Forget it. He's just a little kid. Not worth correcting." I handed him the sugar figurine. He gave me a stiff, polite smile. "Thank you, Dad." It made me ache a bit inside. I crouched down, ruffled his hair. "Where's your dad?" His big eyes filled with confusion. "You're my dad." "Dad, what kind of upbringing was this?" I got angry. I hate parents who don't treat kids properly. When Colton enrolled Milo in a fancy kindergarten, I scolded him for using her as a tool to meet wealthy families. "Who's that man just now?" The boy licked his sugar figurine, paused, then answered slowly, "That's Daddy. Dad. This kid probably calls everyone Dad." I relaxed. "Does your daddy treat you well?" He blinked, then nodded gently. "Daddy treats me really well. Dad. He raised me alone until I turned 4. Dad. Even when I made him cry. He never forgot to make my formula. Dad. Alone? That man was tall, handsome, with excellent pheromones. No way he raised the boy all by himself. But that wasn't my business. I just wanted to know if the child was happy. Good. Grow up happy. Okay. I stood up, holding one small hand in each of mine, wandering slowly down the street. 8. I was about to head home, when I looked back and saw that man watching me from a distance. His expression was strange, half smiling, half on the verge of tears. I walked over curiously. Done talking? He nodded. He crouched, brushed the boy's face with his hand, then looked up at me. This child's name is Emerson. I'm Fenwick. Why tell me? We wouldn't meet again. Oh. I loosened my grip. Stepped back. You can take him home now. I was starving. Milo's stomach growled too. I was going to make Colton treat us to a big dinner. Maybe spicy stir-fried beef. Hot and fragrant. I grabbed Milo's hand and started walking off. But a sudden shriek stopped me. Don't go. Dad. Dad's not allowed to go. I turned to see Emerson throw his sugar figurine at Fenwick, face twisted with anger, stomping and hitting his father's legs, his dark eyes brimming with tears. Such a stark contrast to his quiet, well-behaved self earlier. The melted sugar left a messy stain on Fenwick's fine suit. Fenwick gave a bitter smile, picked up the struggling boy, and patted his back to soothe him. I'm not leaving, and I won't take you away. Be good, or I won't like you. The boy calmed instantly, wet eyes peeking at me nervously. I don't want to be disliked. So pitiful. I couldn't help wiping his tears gently. I don't dislike you. Fenwick looked at me. Colton's busy now. Want to have dinner together? My treat. Thanks for spending time with him. I looked him up and down. He must be rich. So maybe I could order extra meat? I grinned broadly. I want stir-fried beef, braised pork, chicken with mushrooms, sweet and sour ribs, beef brisket with tomatoes, and fish head tofu soup. Oh, and I want some liquor too. Then I scratched my head nervously. Is that too much? Fenwick stared at me for a long time, then broke into a laugh. Not too much. Do you really like these dishes? He murmured to himself. I never knew. He led me off the old street. Yes, I liked them. But not just them. I like any good food. I just don't often get to eat big meals. I'm lazy and never make enough money to splurge. 9. The next day, Colton's heat symptoms had completely gone. A man named Ford appeared out of nowhere, taking Milo to kindergarten with him. Fenwick stayed overnight on the old street and wanted to take the kid too. He refused to go alone, crying and insisting on seeing me. He wanted me to take him. I asked Fenwick, where's his mom or dad? Fenwick was silent for a moment, lowering his head. His dad. He doesn't want us anymore. I've been looking for him for a long time. He was wrapped in a heavy, undeniable aura of despair. Curious. I asked, did you find him? He looked up at me, his expression unreadable. I did. I felt happy for them. Then you two should reconcile quickly. If the kid misses his dad, you should take him to and from school together. I can't keep doing this. I need to work to earn money for liquor too. I held Emerson's other hand and walked toward the kindergarten, helping just this once. Fenwick held Emerson in his right hand and a string of prayer beads in his left, twirling them endlessly. After a while, he asked softly, can I hire you to take him to school? 10,000 per month. I hadn't earned that much in 3 years. He was so rich and generous, but also felt like a scammer. I stared at him suspiciously. Are you a con man? To prove he wasn't, Fenwick asked me to take out my phone, wanting to transfer money. But after flipping through it, he returned the phone. Your apps aren't verified with your real identity. Of course. I didn't even know who I was. Had no ID. This phone belonged to Colton, registered with his identity. I don't have an ID. I don't even know who I am. All my work is paid in cash. You'll pay me in cash too. Fenwick froze, his voice low and husky. Agreed. After taking Emerson to school, he led me to a bank counter, withdrew 100,000 cash on the spot, and handed it to me. I'd never seen so much money. Thrilled and scared, I double-checked. All I have to do is take Emerson to school, right? Fenwick nodded. If possible, I'd like you to play with him during free time too. No problem. You really won't regret it? No. I'm more afraid you'll regret it. Who would regret getting this much money? Fenwick must be a fool. Which employer hires a babysitter like this? 10. Fenwick bought a small, rundown apartment on the old street, right next to mine. I had traded my old apartment for a mutton-fat jade pendant. When I first arrived, I wore a mutton-fat jade necklace. A middle-aged man offered a house in exchange for it. I agreed. I didn't know where the pendant came from. I only knew I was extremely poor, and the jade couldn't have been real. I had made a killing. So when Fenwick asked how I bought my apartment, I told him the truth. His expression kept shifting, green, then red, like a chameleon. He turned away, touching his chest, muttering to himself, "Forget it. Forget it. I asked for it. I asked for it. Being alive is enough. Being alive is enough." Mumbling nonsense. I set down my glass with a snap and had him pour me a drink. "You know me, right? You know my name?" Fenwick paused for a few seconds, then poured the drink. "Yes, you're Miller. Your birthday is October 10th, age 26. Strange. Why did he know me better than I knew myself? Am I the one you've been looking for?" Fenwick paused, lowered his head, shoulders trembling slightly. He was smiling. "What are you laughing at?" Fenwick smiled. "Laughing at how smart you've become." "What do you mean?" "I really am Emerson's dad?" Fenwick nodded. I still didn't understand. "Then why did I leave you all?" Fenwick froze, filled his own cup, and drank it all in one go. He looked confused too. "I don't know. Maybe. I didn't watch over you properly. Am I a criminal? That you had to watch me?" Fenwick shook his head and said nothing further. He wandered around me every day, acting aimlessly. 11. After a week of wandering, Fenwick was caught by Ford. "If you don't go to the office, I don't care anymore. It wasn't my company anyway." Fenwick had no choice and handed Emerson to me. "I'm going to the office. You two stay put. Don't run off. Don't run off." Hearing that, my right ear suddenly rang, but it was supposed to be deaf. Fenwick left, and I held my ear, calming down. When I looked again, Emerson was gazing up at me. "What's wrong? Dad, does your ear hurt? Dad?" He tugged me toward the old street, small but surprisingly strong. "Daddy says if you're sick, say so. Go to the hospital. Listen to the doctor. And take your medicine. Dad, I'll take you to the hospital. Dad." Fenwick had taught Emerson well. Even with autism, he mostly followed routines politely. Sometimes he had tantrums, but mostly he was well behaved. Since I realized I might really be his dad, I felt a constant pang of guilt watching him. I had abandoned him, so I went along with whatever he wanted. But I resisted going to the hospital. "I'm not sick. Dad, how about we go shopping instead? I have a lot of money now. Can buy you cool kids' clothes." Emerson nodded, lips pressed tight, a faint smile emerging. He didn't smile much, but he was learning. He said, "Daddy never smiles. Why doesn't your daddy smile?" Emerson thought for a moment. "Daddy likes to cry. Daddy looks at photos of Dad. Face full of water. Daddy shy." A mental image formed, so ridiculous it made me laugh quietly. I took Emerson into the mall, trying not to smile too much. Suddenly, someone grabbed my shoulder. I turned. A thin, middle-aged woman stared at me, shocked. I didn't know her, but she had many questions. Her cloudy eyes scanned me and Emerson. "Married and had kids? With whom?" She grabbed Emerson's clothes, inspecting the logo. "All branded? Where did you get the money? Did you marry into wealth? Where's your dad? Enjoying life with you?" Her tone grew angry. Even when a little girl behind her cried for her mother, she didn't care. I pulled her hand away, hiding Emerson behind me. Calmly, "Sorry. You've got the wrong person." 12. The middle-aged woman suddenly went completely mad. "Wrong person? Now that you're successful, you don't want to acknowledge your mother, right? Just like your heartless dad, ungrateful little bastard." Every word she spat through my mind into chaos. By the end, she was crying while pounding my shoulders. "Have some pity on your mother." She dragged the little girl in front of me, sobbing uncontrollably. "Mom never had a good life. I don't blame you, but your little sister is still young. Have some pity on us. Give Mom some money, so your sister can have a better life." "Okay." I pressed my buzzing right ear. Numb. Staring at the panicked, tearful girl. I have no money. The woman wouldn't relent. I don't believe it. You're my son. Now that you're successful, you should support your parents. Your money should have a part for me. If you don't give it, I'll sue you. Her words sounded so familiar. I couldn't recall where I'd heard them. I didn't want to think. I wanted to run. But my feet felt nailed to the ground. Immobile. Emerson grew angry. His small hands repeatedly slapped the woman. Let go of my dad. Bad woman. Daddy told me to protect him. Daddy is powerful. When he comes, he'll avenge you. The woman finally released her grip. Realization dawning. I get it. You have no money. So you hooked a rich alpha. A superior omega is lucky. Can snare a rich alpha. Without me, how could you ever land a wealthy person? Shouldn't you thank me? Her mouth moved, opening and closing rapidly. I gradually stopped hearing her. Crouched on the ground. My mind was a blank fog. I didn't know what to say or do. So painful. My chest felt stuffed with wet cotton, suffocating me. I felt sick. I held Emerson tight, like clutching the last lifeline. 13. When Fenwick arrived, I thought I saw someone beside him. My heart ached. I squeezed my eyes shut, then opened them. Only he was there. Strange. Was I hallucinating? Or drunk? Fenwick strode toward me. I couldn't stop myself from retreating. Crouched. I had nowhere to go, and fell to the ground. Fenwick's outstretched hands trembled. Froze. Face dark with displeasure. He turned sharply, driving the woman away with stern words. Back turned to me. He asked, Miller, are you afraid of me? I nodded, then shook my head. I wasn't afraid of him. I was afraid of this situation. Something bad always felt like it would happen. I murmured, You don't trust me. You trust your fiancé. I'm nothing. Fenwick spun around, squatted, and gripped my shoulders hard. I frowned and pushed his hands away. Stay away from me. Every touch hurts all over. Fenwick stared at his own hands, red veins spreading in his eyes. The air thickened with the sharp scent of green citrus liquor. He looked repressed, voice hoarse. I thought I wasn't good enough. That's why you wanted to run. But Miller, you've run for 3 years, still wild and unhinged. Tell me, why should I stay away from you? Like a balloon pierced by needles, he collapsed in frustration, clenching his fists. He slammed them onto the tiles. What fiancé? Screw your fiancé. I've told you 100 times. It's all in your imagination. From start to finish. You're my only omega. You can't hear. Pretend you can't hear. Hide in your own world. Pitiful as hell. Being wrong doesn't matter, as long as you're okay. As long as you take your medicine. That's enough. What else do you want? Why did you leave me? Why? After leaving me, is your life still miserable? You collapse at the sight of your dad. Collapse at your mom. Collapse at a stranger. You can collapse anytime. Anywhere, what about me? I can't dare to collapse. Can't even question you. Can't let you remember anything from the past. Why should I? It's your debt to me, not mine to you. He cried so miserably. Tears fell onto the floor, mixing with blood from his fists, spreading in a mess. I was utterly confused. Suddenly, a small voice pierced the suffocating air. I shivered and turned to Emerson. His little face was red, eyes wide with panic. His words tumbled out like a machine gun. Don't fight with Daddy. Daddy. I don't want Daddy to leave me. Daddy. You promised to protect Daddy. Why are you shouting at Daddy? Daddy. You said Daddy was sick. Sick people need to be comforted. 14. I still went to the hospital. Fenwick dragged me there. Probably at the end of his patience. They sent me to neurology. Ran a bunch of tests and questionnaires. When I came out, Fenwick was gone. Colton and Ford waited with Milo and Emerson. Colton calmly handed me the test results and prescriptions. Softly, he said, Fenwick said he'll calm down for a few days and asked me to apologize to you. He told you to rest. Let's go back. Ford said nothing, his gaze not friendly. He seemed eager to speak, but Colton shot him a glance, and he stayed silent, muttering, Omegas are hard to please. My brothers had a rough few years, working, raising kids, finding help. Colton smacked him lightly. Ever wonder why his partners always run? Ford stayed silent, turned the wheel, and drove toward the old street. Emerson rested in my arms, clutching me tightly, little head moving slowly. I patted his head. Sleep now. Daddy won't leave. Daddy won't leave. Won't go. As he spoke, he fell asleep. I asked Colton for the results and went through them. Some conclusions came from the doctor's observations. Some from Fenwick's private consultation. Diagnosis: schizophrenia. Symptoms: confused thoughts, abnormal behavior and thinking, hallucinations, and prior paranoia of being persecuted. I clutched the report, realizing I truly had a disorder. I touched the back of my neck, a circular scar. If the paranoia was imagined, why was my gland injured? I couldn't remember no matter how hard I tried. My head hurt. I stopped thinking. Fenwick must know anyway. 15. Fenwick didn't appear for a whole week. When he did, he held a divorce agreement. Eyes downcast. I want a divorce. I froze. I was married? Fenwick paused, then gave a self-deprecating smile. So you dislike me so much. You don't even remember marrying. I won't cling to you anymore. So you won't be in pain. Emerson likes you. And you like him, let him stay with you. Half my property will be yours. Don't worry about raising him. I stared blankly. And you? Fenwick paused again, forcing a grim smile. Me? Finally free. No more searching for a wife. No more raising a kid. I don't know how relieved I feel. Lies. Then why was he hiding? Crying. Eyes swollen. Not divorce. Okay. I'll get proper treatment. I suggested seriously. I haven't regained my memory. Divorce now would be unfair. Help me recover my memory first. Then we talk about divorce. Fenwick inhaled deeply, leaning against my shabby apartment door. One hand covered his eyes. Long silence. I thought he refused, had had enough of me. But finally he said, I really owe you. 16. He took me to meet someone. A young man. He carried that unique omega scent. The moment I saw him, I felt extremely irritated. He seemed to notice. Quickly, he raised his hands, showing a simple, rustic ring on his finger. I'm already married. Apart from professional matters, I have no relationship with Fenwick. Although Fenwick said he's explained many times, I think it's necessary to explain again. His name was Nolan, a therapist, extremely skilled in hypnosis, an old classmate of Fenwick's. Fenwick had called him initially to hypnotize me, to erase the trauma caused by my family. But the first meeting had been awkward. During my pregnancy, the word fiancé triggered me. I ran to find Fenwick. Actually, I ended up finding my own family. I ran into my dad. He was drunk again. Upon seeing me, he asked if I had money. I said no. He hit and scolded me. My ear, it was he who made me deaf. But when I saw Nolan, my mind jumped, and all I remembered was that it was him who had hurt me. Fenwick said, what could I do? I could only send him back. I asked why you kept running, and you didn't answer. You never answer. I didn't know what else to do, so I kept you at home. I had Nolan come to observe you. He's one of the very few hypnotherapists recognized both domestically and internationally. We tried hypnosis several times, but you wouldn't cooperate. Your defenses were extremely high. I had no choice but to let him leave. I believed him. Nolan tried to hypnotize me again. This time, I let my guard down, letting go of hostility. Then I remembered certain things. When I woke, Fenwick looked at me anxiously. I was still dazed, but not as confused as before. Fenwick, as if waiting a lifetime for an answer, asked, so, can you tell me why you came back there to find me? I pressed my lips together, lowered my head, hesitated. I realized maybe I had been too reserved before, hiding everything in my heart, which led to the current situation. I said it anyway, because that's where I met you. Fenwick went silent abruptly. After a long pause, he buried his face in his hands. Sighing, he muttered, really annoying. You're both detestable and the most lovable. 17. Hypnosis couldn't heal everything at once. Nolan arranged weekly sessions, each lasting an hour. Not too long, to protect mental stability. By the fourth session, I finally remembered how my gland was injured. It was self-inflicted. In my subconscious, I treated Fenwick as my possession. But consciously, I felt unworthy. Just a collateral item. I believed Fenwick's repeated declarations of love weren't for me as a person, but for my superior alpha pheromones. I hated Fenwick's perceived unfaithfulness. Hated that I was controlled by pheromones. Addicted to his scent. Hated that Nolan had taken Fenwick. Of course, these were all my own imagined scenarios. So I damaged my gland, framing Nolan. In reality, Nolan hadn't appeared in front of me for a long time, but I kept seeing him, because my mind was sick. After accepting that I was ill, things went smoother. Confused memories gradually fell into place. I became self-conscious, dramatic. From a spectator's view, looking at my past memories, I only felt how dramatic I had been. The mutton-fat jade pendant Fenwick gave me the day we registered our marriage. Worth millions, I casually traded for a shabby apartment. When I was with Fenwick, every meal was delicious, but I often didn't eat. He'd ask what I liked, and I'd say anything was fine. So many similar instances. I had no face to see Fenwick or Nolan. I hid at home for days, avoiding going out. Even when Emerson called me, I didn't go. Fenwick broke into my door. Stop running away every time something happens. Emerson buried in my arms. Teary-eyed. Pitiful. Don't ignore me. Daddy. I looked at him. Guilt crashing over me like a tsunami. Taking psychiatric medication during pregnancy carried a risk to the baby. Doctors had warned about Emerson. But Emerson didn't care. I can raise a fool for life. But healing Miller is the top priority. Emerson was a premature baby. Unusually quiet at birth. After speaking, he was diagnosed with mild autism. As he grew, tantrums could be intense. Fenwick, unwilling to trust others with him, had spent enormous effort. The more I understood, the more heartbroken and guilty I felt. But I dared not waste energy internally anymore. 18. I asked Fenwick where my dad was. He took me to a psychiatric hospital. Alive and kicking inside, gambling with patients and nurses. I saw my dad acting neurotic, playing rock, paper, scissors with a nurse. If he won, he obediently took his medicine. If he lost, he would panic, threatening the nurse. For other patients, the nurse would let them lose, making them take medicine. But my dad's nurse deliberately kept winning. He would get frustrated, shouting, trapped behind the small iron window. You did this? Fenwick nodded. I also arranged electroshock therapy for him. Want some catharsis? I shook my head, clenching my fists, knuckles cracking. Open the ward door. I'll handle it myself. I had always feared my dad's pheromones, sour, foul, mixed with blows and insults that paralyzed me. Now, I could still smell that rotten scent, but my glands were gone. My omega instinct to submit to alpha gone. Just the sense of smell remained. No more fear. Why wouldn't I take revenge? Fenwick smiled, letting them open the ward, and accompanied me inside. After that, I never went looking for my mom. She, too, had been a victim of a patriarchal alpha-dominant household. I could ignore her, but I couldn't blame her. 19. After fully recovering, I noticed the divorce agreement sitting on the nightstand. I picked it up and placed it in front of Fenwick, politely asking, "Do you still want a divorce? I'll respect your choice." Fenwick's expression changed instantly. He snatched the paper and tore it in half. Burning bridges? Dream on. I pressed my lips and smiled. The smile grew louder and louder. Fenwick stared at me, lips pressed, eyes red, accusing me. I've been with you for 4 years, and you've never smiled at me like this. I stopped smiling after my mom abandoned me. I explained. That's okay. It's not too late now. Fenwick rubbed the scar on the back of my neck, pushing the strands of white hair at my temples behind my ear. Dye your hair black. This looks terrible. Okay, I'll dye it for you. Later, I moved into Fenwick's house, and we took a family photo with Emerson. My neighbor was still Colton. End of main story. Extra, Fenwick. I rescued a poor little cat. Smelled amazing. Supposedly came to repay a debt. But he was even harder to deal with than me. Whenever he fell asleep, he frowned and muttered, Only when I held him to sleep did he finally rest peacefully. His mind was messed up, always acting strange. I thought he'd calm down after some time, triggered by his family. He did, but he had just been hiding it. After Miller got pregnant, all the symptoms resurfaced, and they worsened. I hadn't planned to have a child, but Miller kept talking about terminating the pregnancy while never letting go of his belly. He wanted me to play the bad guy. Fine. I picked him up myself. I had to take care of him properly. Doctors warned that psychiatric medication during pregnancy could cause miscarriage or brain development issues. I didn't care. As long as Miller lived. That was enough. Even if it was our child. He came first. Now that there was a kid, we should get married. That same day, I took Miller to the civil registry office. We got our photos taken and our marriage certificate. Miller was downcast, as if he didn't want to marry me at all. It infuriated me. I got angry too soon. There was always something more infuriating next. I couldn't even show my anger. When he heard somewhere that I had a fiancé, he assumed every woman he saw was my fiancé, especially when he saw Nolan. I had to explain 100 times that Nolan was there to treat him. He'd stuff his ears into the pillow, pretending to be deaf. It drove me insane. Once he finally emptied his belly, he began self-harming, destroying his own gland. He didn't tell anyone, nearly causing a major accident. I thought he hated me for my mark. I restrained my anger while getting him hospitalized, removing the necrotic gland. Even during a short break to handle paperwork, he abandoned both me and the baby. Ran away. It drove me close to insanity. I nursed the baby while looking for a wife. For 3 years, he was cosplaying as an old man in a rundown street. He only dressed young to pick up someone else's child. I wanted to spank him, but I couldn't. He didn't remember me. What if he ran away again? He couldn't run anymore. I couldn't bear it. Angry as I was, divorce wasn't an option. If he dared to sign, I would have spanked him for real. Luckily, he didn't. So I spared him. It didn't matter. I wouldn't strike him, maybe just a stick. Even without pheromones, he still smelled amazing. Turns out my wife's right ear really was deaf. I was furious. Went to the psychiatric hospital and beat his dad. Made him deaf. Came home to comfort my husband. Thanks to Ford. For being scummy. And finding a rebellious alpha as his wife. Thanks to his wife. Who ran off with a child for 3 years and ended up Miller's neighbor. Thanks to my son. Who knew how to hold on to his dad and never let go. And thanks to myself, I'm seriously the world's most obsessive lover.